Hello, this is Photography Gamer. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm reviewing Cyberpunk 2077 for the PS4. The game is also available for the Xbox One and Microsoft Windows. Cyberpunk 2077 is a first-person sci-fi open-world role-playing game developed by CD Projekt. The game takes place in Night City, a metropolis governed by corporations, gangs and other groups vying for control. You play as V, a generic character who gets caught up in the criminal underworld, corporate conspiracies and all other manner of shenanigans. So what is the game like to play? Well, you start by selecting your life path, whether that be a nomad, street kid or corpo. Then it's time to create your own V, and you've got an impressive amount of customization options. There's lots of hairstyles, piercings, scars, but unfortunately there isn't a face sculptor, so you're stuck with the available presets. One disappointment was the lack of a plastic surgeon in the game, as in you can't change your appearance after the initial creation, which seems a bit of an oversight in a game that's all about body modifications. So you've made your character, then it's off into Night City to start the prologue, and this will vary depending on your life path. Like most CD Projekt games, it's a very slow and methodical beginning, with the long tutorials, prologue missions and plenty of stage setting. I'd say it could have been a little bit more snappy at the start, it does take several hours to really get going. Combat wise, it's pretty good fun with a huge array of weapons ranging from shotguns, rifles, tech weapons, grenades and melee options as well. As you progress, you'll level up and be able to unlock unique perks to improve your street cred. Most weapons have modding options with unique scopes and other items to create your own unique weapon of choice. You can use Breach, which is a form of remote hacking to distract enemies. Now, the enemy AI, it's really not the best, with most enemies being pretty useless and very easily avoided or dispatched. If you've got enough credits, you can augment your body to give yourself almost superhuman traits, and there's a massive variety. You've got lots of clothing to find, you can buy it, steal it, as you explore Night City. In terms of story, V gets embroiled with criminal gangs, which leads to all manner of problems relating to corporate conspiracies, but it's not necessarily a story that has a clear and concise narrative path. It is a little bit all over the place, but it's definitely jam-packed with creative ideas. For me, the biggest problem with the story was the dialogue. Most of it is well acted, but the writing was quite dry and a little bit too straight-faced most of the time. An injection of humour would have definitely helped, and you'll often be leaning to the skip button after you've been listening to characters ramble on for about 10 minutes. Saying that, the action in the missions is pretty compelling, with high-octane shootouts, samurai-type showdowns, frantic car chases, espionage and all other manner of memorable moments. If you're a proactive gamer, I'd say you'll probably finish the main story in about 25 hours, but there are multiple story strands and there's a plethora of side quests which could potentially give you over 100 hours of play, I'd say. So there's definite replay value. Okay, so let's talk about the city itself, Night City. It's an absolutely epic creation with really varied districts that genuinely feel like different places. The architecture, street layout and little details, they really give the place such a unique character. It is a bit chaotic at first though, and it's quite complicated in terms of getting around, but thankfully there's a very useful sort of subway fast travel system. There are lots of cool vehicles to drive, although it does take a while to buy a decent one. One slight annoyance were the incessant phone calls and texts as you drive around the city. You literally can't move 500 yards without someone calling you. Messages pop up all the time and you'll quickly wish they'd all just go away and let you enjoy the open world. The game has a pretty adult style too, with lots of sex, violence, drug abuse, porn, prostitution and even a bit of snuff in the brain dance editor thrown in for good measure. It is quite refreshing to see a game go for a more adult experience to counter the kind of cutesy nature of a lot of games these days. And the core narrative about consciousness and how humanity and machines are coming one is pretty cool and very poignant. If I had to compare it to anything, I'd say it feels a bit like Deus Ex meets Grand Theft Auto, with a lot of style influences from Blade Runner. Okay, so I have to talk about the technical performance. As you know, the game had its digital release pulled from the PSN store due to the performance issues. Now, there has been a 45 gig patch since that, but problems do still persist. These are the ones I noticed. frame rate issues in built up areas, textures taking an eternity to load in, lots of pop-up when you're travelling fast in a car. The car camera angle doesn't want to change all the time. When you exit photo mode, you start drifting and walking, or buttons stay locked. Menu slowdown, lip syncing is almost non-existent at times. Enemies getting caught in the mesh of the environment. Eyes popping out of your head in the car, falling through the environment, and the occasional freeze. But I didn't experience any hard crashes, so that's an improvement on the initial release. So yeah, there's quite a lot of technical issues there for the developers to iron out. It can be quite frustrating, but it was never any game-breaking things. They were just minor annoyances. Saying that, there were sessions where I didn't experience any problems, so it wasn't a game breaker like I said. It's more an intermittent annoyance that minimises the ability to truly immerse into Night City. In terms of graphics, the game is a bit up and down. At night, everything looks awesome with the neon lights and the soft shades in the misty streets or the dingy bars. But when the sun comes out, you really start to see some of the issues with textures, pop-up and other graphical problems. There's also been reports of gamers suffering headaches after playing, mainly due to the effects during gameplay. Personally, I did notice a few more headaches than I usually have for the 2 weeks I was playing. But I can't tell you it was definitely the game, but there are a lot of flashing lights, flickering effects, so it's something you need to bear in mind if those things bother you. The game features a photo mode, and it's a very good one with lots of functions and features. Unfortunately though, there aren't any saturation or vibrancy sliders. The filters are a bit limited and no time of day functions, so there's room for improvement. Sound wise, the music on the whole is very good with really good choices for the radio stations and cinematic scoring. The voice acting varies in quality quite wildly. It probably doesn't help that the dialogue sections go on for too long. It's hard to retain interest as they go on and on and on. The writing does lack a kind of a realistic character, charm or quality humour, and it really soon becomes a struggle to endure. I mean, it's a classic example of the dialogue probably sounded good on paper, but when it's delivered between two characters over long narrative sections, it really does become quite a kind of a snooze fest. And also, if you do have the audacity to want to skip one line of dialogue, the game rewards you with a flickering, flashing effect on the screen, just in case you didn't already have a headache. Okay, what's good and what's bad? What's good? The game world is huge, varied and fascinating. The character creator is good. Some of the missions were fantastic. The game looks great at night. There's lots of cool and intuitive ideas in there. The loadout and character build options are extensive, the music is pretty good on the whole, and it's got a good photo mode. What's bad? The story lacks a captivating hook to make you really care about the conclusion. The game world, although impressive, feels quite empty most of the time. The NPCs are vacuous and devoid of any tangible character. The dialogue lacks a realistic quality or any sense of humour. The large map has huge swathes of dead space in it. And the technical performance does hinder your ability to enjoy exploration, and for a game that's been in development for this long, it clearly wasn't product tested properly. So what's the verdict? Cyberpunk 2077 is a good game on the whole with an excellent game world, lots of cool and clever ideas and some very satisfying moments. But it's not the great all-conquering masterpiece we were expecting, and the incessant hype train that preceded it may have raised the bar of expectations a little too high. The story narrative never truly gets going. Instead, you've got a few memorable set pieces and missions, but as a whole, the story does feel quite disjointed. In terms of character creation and customization though, it's very good and really gives the player a broad brush to design your own unique V. But I do feel the game missed a trick by not being a third-person game. I mean, what good is all the customization if you never actually see your character? And if you're not into virtual photography, then you could potentially go the entire game without ever seeing yourself in action. But again, I did love the design of Night City. Yes, it's a bit overwhelming at first, but there's definitely a huge amount to discover, explore and enjoy. It's just a bit of a shame that the technical performance isn't up to scratch, as exploring can become a chore when you're being regularly confronted by pop-up, frame rate drops and various other problems. But I still enjoyed it overall as an experience, and I'd say there's definitely replay value in there in regard to different life paths and the comprehensive nature of the city, side quests, etc. And in time, the technical issues will be resolved, and I'm sure it will be much better after that. So it's a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde experience, but one I would recommend you check out. But if technical issues get on your nerves, you might want to wait out until June, July time. If not, then give it a go now, but be aware you're going to encounter quite a few problems. So my score for Cyberpunk 2077 is 8 out of 10. When the glitches, the problems are all ironed out, that score will probably go up a little bit. But not that much because, you know, the story never really captivates you. It's got lots of good qualities, but there are things in there that I think they've not quite done as well as they could have. But 8 out of 10 is a fair score. It's a good quality open world experience, but it's not up there with the Red Dead 2s, Horizon Zero Dawns. You know, the absolute elite games, it doesn't quite reach those heights. Maybe in time it will, but for now, I'd say a lot of the glitches have been fixed. The crashes have gone as far as I can see. So now you can actually play it. 8 out of 10. Okay, that was the review. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. This is Photography Gamer signing off. Thank you.